Okay, so over the weekend we're going to be having a look at rebuilding this little Hornet. Now, I can't mention Paul's name, but poor old Paul decided to fly his $450 Hornet over his swimming pool, and well, we all know how that ended. What I've offered to do for young Paul is to get him back up in the air. We're going to be fitting this out now. We're going to be putting some really nice Park 450 1200 kV motors on this. We're going to be refitting it with a nice Multiwii Pro 2 board, and it's going to be running the Navi 2.3 before Christmas version, and with all the GUI, so we're going to be running some SimonK 20 amp ESCs. We're going to be getting rid of all this DualSky gear, and basically we're going to try and resurrect the arms and the body and the cover, and refit it with a what I would call some decent stuff. I'll fill you in on how that's going. That's completely dead. That's the flight controller completely dead, all washed up, and so we'll keep you posted. We'll go through the build, and we'll go right up to the testing and the programming, the GUI, the whole lot, and we'll stick it on YouTube, and yeah, hopefully by the end of Easter we'll have a flying model, so stay tuned. Alright, so here's what you do. You get a sharp knife and you very carefully cut along, cut the cover off, peel it back, and you find which way the chip is, and there's a little dot on there. Put it there, match the dot, and then up on the screen there we take that, and it should write and then read. So now it's writing over the chip, it's reading it, and that, my friend, is how you flash a SimonK firmware onto your ESC. All we do now is we stick our little cover back on, like so, and we'll put some tape on that. No one know we've even been in there. So we're going to do a little bench test now on our little SimonK. So we've got our little KK board set up, we've got our receiver so we can arm it, and we're running through a UBEC straight out of here, because these are an opto, so they don't have power. You've got to float the centre wire, as you can see there. You might be able to, if I can get out the way of the light there, that's your positive wire there, so it doesn't have a UBEC on board. So we'll see how we go. So I'll see if I can do this a different way. I'll put that there, and we'll see if we can see any difference between the SimonK one and the non-SimonK. Okay, so we'll have a look at the non-SimonK one. So here we are, day 2 of the build, and you can see we've got a pile of parts now. Our ESCs are flashed, as we seen last night. I've picked out the best ones of these. Some of these have been cracked, so luckily Paulys had the insight to get a few spares. What we're going to try to do here is we're going to try and keep this distribution board so that we can get these leads around here all sorted and going, but what we're going to basically do is we're going to put the ESC onto there. We're going to solder it onto those two little lugs there. You can see the two lugs and where they had the signal cable. We're not going to use that, we're going to put the signal cable straight out. So basically that is going to sit on there with the motor wired straight into there, straight onto the ends of there, and they'll be soldered to the board. This will come out and will sit in the centre plate here, and basically our board will look like that, or the copter will look like that, and then the flight control board will sit on top of that, if that makes sense. So distribution board underneath, flight control board on the top, and yeah, we'll see how we go. Now, one of the mods I'm going to have to make is, if you can see down there, this plate here, this stiffening section here, sits flat on these plates. So in order to get that signal cable from the ESC compartment up to the centre, going to have to notch it out. Now you can see I've done one, but I'm going to have to do this one as well. Just cut that with a grinder, give that a little V, and our signal cable will run straight up the centre there and be all protected. So we have a look at our build now. We've got our Park 450 motors on there. We've got the ESCs, you can see, are soldered properly onto the outlets, and this is the tricky part, getting that centre hole down in there to line up, because that little triangle there is where the undercarriage holds on. So, and you don't want it to be rubbing, the wires rubbing on the motor there. So what I've done is I put two cable ties here. That little section there that holds that on, that will go down in between those and capture that in place there. So that's about it. I've done the calibration of the ESCs, I've done the calibration of the mag and the accelerometers, and now it all works. It's all good to go. There's the flight board there, all mounted. So all we've got to do now is, I only have one of the motors right, so motor 1, 3 and 4 have got to be reverse directioned, and we'll be testing it out shortly. Okay, so here's the build so far. We're progressing quite well. We've got the board mounted on the top board, so it's all in place. Had to drill some new holes there, and we're going to put the receiver for the time being underneath, purely for the fact that we haven't got a lot of room. So we've mounted these straight onto the board. ESCs. We've got the brand new little Park 450 1200 kVs, which we know works with this board rather well, and that's about where we are at the moment. So the 20 amp ESCs are all mounted in there, everything's good to go. We just got to get this sorted and our power circuitry, and then start the calibration